Greetings and salutations, everyone. This is Jason Bitbender Brink, and I am here with Mike and Matt from the Echoes of Empire team. How you guys doing today?
Doing all right.
Doing pretty good. Right. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to you, too. It is a good thing it's a Friday, isn't it?
Yes,
it feels very much like Monday 4 today. But we're doing okay. Thank you guys for taking the time to chat with me and with the community. I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to be cool. I've been poking around in some channels, as you guys may or may not know. Actually, we've restructured a few different things recently at Gala, and one of the things that we've done is we've created a crypto and community engagement squad. And so, as part of that, that means that I'm not getting as directly involved in all of the games as I was, a few months back, and that means I'm spending more time with the community, specifically the node owner community, lately, and I don't get to see as much art as I used to. This makes me sad. I'm seeing behind you some really cool art, Matt. And I heard that it was mentioned today that there was that's badass looking. That's badass looking. I need one of those spaceships. I heard that there was a deck of some sort that was circulating that has art in it. Is that a thing?
Oh yes, that's definitely a thing. I would say it goes even a little further than that. It goes even a little further than that. It's got the details.
It goes further than that. It has details. Oh, God. Well, nobody here likes art or details, so we're just going to skip right on past it, and we'll just head on into taking questions from the community, because nobody wants to see art, and nobody wants any details, right? Is that right, guys? Oh, and by the way, everyone who's watching this, if you come join our Discord at galagames.chat, we are in the EOE-discussion channel. And you'll be able to find that on the left-hand side by scrolling through all of the 15 million other channels that we have as well, and joining us there. I'm there. That's where I'm going to be taking questions. And before we get started, how are you guys doing in terms of game development? Are you excited about what's going on so far?
Absolutely, yes. Absolutely.
Awesome.
We've been building the team. We've been expanding the team a lot over the past few months, and it's been a really exciting time for us to kind of dig into a lot of these designs and the way that we're kind of building out the world. Being really engaged with the community too. It was awesome to be able to be at Galaverse and hang out with some of our players, show them some of the work we've been working on. So it's been great. It's been great the past few months.
And I think it's fair to say, because I can talk out of turn. Matt and I talked last night. We're going to spin up another, or was it last night, Matt? We talked about this. We're going to spin up another.
It was last night, yeah.
Get another engineer, designer, like another pod to get them on it too, because we got a lot of plans, a lot of things we want to pull off in this calendar year. So
okay,
yeah. Serious.
Okay, I like to hear that. Well, oh, sorry, some slamming door action going on downstairs. You guys want to talk a little bit about the ships and the roles that they made? How about we let you do the art? I'll let you show the art. Okay. I know you want to show the art. People want to see the art. I guess
we'll do it. We'll show the ships. All right, so let's get into some capital ships. So the community's probably heard us talk about the capital ships quite a bit, and we want to dig into a little bit more detail around those. So capital ships are really kind of the core player asset in Echoes of Empire. It's really the asset that we associate the most with player action. Basically, everything you're going to do in the game world is going to be performed by a capital ship that leads a fleet. That's mining, refinement, quests, combat, discovery, traversal, commerce. Anything you can do in the game is basically done via capital ships. So they're a really kind of key and core component to our game world. And, we haven't really had much opportunity to kind of talk about how capital ships function, what do they look like, how do they fit inside the broader game world. So we wanted to, share a little bit more of some of what was going on the inside. So everyone's kind of familiar with the three core factions that are the kind of player associated factions. Both the three are arbiters, garrison, and royals. And each of those factions kind of serves a slightly different purpose in the world. That they all have kind of different things that drive them as a faction, and we really wanted to lean into that for our capital ship designs. So we kind of thought about each of those factions and tried to figure out, what do each of those factions kind of believe in? What are the kind of core drivers behind those factions, and how can we tie that into the capital ship designs? And so this is kind of how we see the different factions fitting into these kind of core game elements. So discovery, harvesting, and combat. Each faction kind of lives somewhere in between two of those spots, really, but kind of being more strong in one area than the other. So royals, they're kind of focused most on discovery and combat. Arbiters are between harvesting and discovery, and garrison are kind of between harvesting and combat. Each of them, kind of leans more directly into kind of the colors you can see there. So the royals, their top priority is discovery. Arbiters, their top priority is harvesting. And garrison, their top priority is combat. Kind of all the ships kind of live between the two of those three areas. So yeah, royals, diplomatic faction, they're always looking to make kind of inroads across all the other factions, and violence is never their first option. But they are royals after all, so they've got deep pockets. If you try to come for them, they will not make it easy for you. They've got great defensive capabilities, really fast discovery ships, and they're always looking to kind of protect their interests. So they've got a lot of storage capabilities for kind of the resources that they collect. The garrison, they're a militaristic faction. They're really about kind of traversing the universe with an iron fist. They're really all about their military might. Combat is always the first thing that they're thinking about. It's the first option that they use. But after that, they need to kind of collect the spoils from what they get, right? So harvesting is kind of also a key component of the way that the garrison function inside the world. And then arbiters, they're the commerce and trade faction. They're really the merchants who are just trying to make more coin. And the best way to make coin is all about harvesting, right? So they care a lot about mining, extraction, refinement, and secondarily discovery, being able to move around the game world quickly, being able to go across the universe, find all the best places to mine, and kind of take advantage of that as best as they can. They're always looking to kind of make deals with everyone else in the universe.
So what you're telling me is that the arbiters are the Echoes of Empire Roy boys.
Exactly.
They are the Roy boys of Echoes of Empire. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. So, like I said, we're going to get some details here. So I'm going deep. These are the classes. So we're going to go through every class that we have for each of the factions. And this is kind of the stat distributions that we have for each class. So 3 classes for royals. They're the ambassadors, the archivists, and the guardians. The ambassadors, you can kind of see based on the kind of heat graph on the right, that they're the fastest ships in the universe. If you're trying to be a discovery-based player, the ambassador ships are the ones you should be hunting for. They're going to move the fastest, move the most efficiently, cost the least to do so. They're going to have discounted vendor prices, and they're going to have defensive bonuses when they're nearby guildmates. So ambassadors, really all about the movement, and secondarily to some degree, also questing and commerce. And even for each of these, we've really gone as deep as we can. You can even see that they have some midline stats as well as some weak stats. Every ship has both strong areas and weak areas kind of associated with them. So archivist is like the storage and vault capacity capital ship. If you're just trying to hoard all your resources, make sure that no one can steal them from you. If you keep all of those resources with the archivist specifically, they're going to be a lot safer than if you kept them with some other ship.
Now, if I could, Matt, for one hot second, just jump in here.
Of course. Get in
Just
there.
because I want to call out again, this is the fluffy side of things. There's a narrative conceit to all this, right? So the idea is you, as a player coming to the game for the first time, you're a new house, right? You are a new house in this universe, and you are not really aligned to any particular house. These NPC factions, you'll interact with them in content throughout the game, but you can possess different ships of different, like you're not signed up for a faction and like, well, this stinks because I want to defend my claims with garrison troops because that's going to be the best for base and claim defense. But I want to trade with the arbiters, but I also want the royals because when you uncover the fog of war, you constantly have to be out there seeing what's around you. So again, when an enemy guild is coming upon you and your guys in your space. So I just wanted to call it out because I think some people are like, oh, I'm Garrison, that's it, and I can't be friends with you because you're this other faction. But you are an independent house that is playing off the backstory of the game, as it were.
Yeah.
So please.
That's actually a great point of clarification. One of our really key design pillars for the game is player choice, which is kind of why we went down this road of the player kind of belonging to a neutral house, working with all of the other NPC factions, so that every player can kind of decide to a greater amount of degree how much they want to lean in to each faction. You could lean in a little bit harder on the royals. You could go all royal ships if you wanted to. Or you could do what Mike's talking about, where you have a mix. You've got some royals, you've got some garrison, you've got some arbiters, depending on what you're trying to do. We wanted to make sure that we, allowed for as much choice and opportunity there as possible. And so, yeah, we also got the Guardians. The Guardians, they're our third class for the Royals. The Guardians, as the name kind of implies, are all about defenses. So really high armor, really high health, longest shield durations. They basically got the highest armor and health in the game, and they have really great celestial object. That's what CO there is, celestial object protection bonuses. So if you're using Guardian ships as defensive fleets for celestial objects, they get extra added bonuses for being able to for being used in that way. And then we've got the Garrison. So Garrison, again, militaristic faction, really focused on combat specifically. So the first of the three classes is the Commander. Primary stats there, or really kind of the design of the Commander, is really about being like a jack of all trades. It's just the standard, attack command, or the combat-based ship that's kind of just good at everything relating to combat, but not necessarily amazing in any one thing. And the Sniper is really more where you kind of get into a specialization, where the Sniper is all about being able to attack from further ranges, having higher crit chances, also getting bonuses for participating in combat by itself, as opposed to combat with a group of players or a group of fleets, like Armada style combat. It gets attack bonuses for being on its own, and it has some of the highest attack power in the game. Obviously, that comes with trade-offs, right? The trade-off of that being that it has very low health and armor, so very much a glass cannon type of capital ship. And then the last class for our garrison ships are the Specialist. So the Specialists are kind of designed around having more armor and health, and they also get a combat bonus when doing celestial object protection or home base protection. So you can assign fleets to defend your home base, to defend celestial objects. They get bonuses for that. They also get a slight harvesting bonus when they are harvesting from a friendly celestial object, whether that's a guildmate owned celestial object or a stellar remnant that's conquered by your guild. And then finally, the Arbiters. So the Arbiter three classes are the Geologist, the Machinist, and the Surveyor. The Geologist, again, kind of going off the name, you can kind of tell what it's strong at. It's the mining-focused ship. So for all the people who are looking to, really maximize their mining yield, Geologist is definitely the ship that you want to go after. And again, kind of the Arbiters, their lore being really about how they're always making deals with everyone else, right? A lot of the bonuses come from when the Arbiters are in a fleet with ships from other factions. So when you have an arbiter geologist and it's supported by garrison ships, it gets mining and extraction bonuses for doing that. The machinist is all about refinement. So gets the best, it has the best refinement efficiency, has a refinement refund chance and modifier. So basically, as you're doing refinement, there's a chance that you actually can almost like crit your refining, so that you get a little bit of your raw resources back, and you get extra refined resources from that. And then they also get a combat bonus when supported by non-arbiter faction support ships. And then last, the surveyor. Surveyor is all about storage and movement. So they're really great at storing all of the resources, and then also just discovery across the universe, flying far distances, being able to move really efficiently at low costs, being able to send out probes really effectively, and even being able to repair other ships. And the bonus that the surveyor gets in relation to other factions is they get a commerce bonus when they're supported by royal support ships. So commerce bonus meaning that they can go to vendors and they'll get a discounted rate at vendors across the game universe whenever they're supported by royal support ships. So that's the deep dive on kind of where we're at on capital ships right now. We do want to go further on future topics similar to kind of what we have here. So think areas that we're really interested in going into in the future: NFT flagships, which is the capital ships that we just talked about. That's the core design for the way that the ships work in the game universe. There's also the NFT variant of those, which is our flagships. We're going to go deeper on that next time. We also want to talk about our dust tokenomics, how we're looking at guilds and guilds progression, and of course, our roadmap to launch. So got a lot of future communication that we want to bring to the community. We want to keep talking with all of you, kind of where we're at and what's going on. And so look forward to more of this type of stuff. Yeah, let's do some questions.
One of the things that I see there is road map. What is a road map? Is that I don't understand the word.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to make sure that we can start to build some confidence with our community and kind of where we're headed, and we want to try to communicate what we're working on, so you guys know that we're doing everything we can to try to get this game in your hands. So
I fully support this effort. I fully support this effort, and I would love to see that from you guys as well as from others. Other projects out there as well, and I think that that's something that you're going to see us pushing more for. Probably not roadmaps with specific dates tied to it, but roadmaps as in, look, this is what's happening, this is what's being worked on, and this is how it's going. I absolutely love that.
Absolutely.
Is there anything? Oh, I'm getting called out by Garrison. Hey man, that's an Akaka thing. Go bug him about it. It's out of my hands now. Okay, so there's questions here. People are asking about when there might be demos, when there might be something for people to test. What sort of things will be necessary in terms of harvesting to collect dust? So there's a few different things out there. But for me, what I'm can I ask an art question?
Of course.
What inspires you guys when you design a ship?
What inspires us? I think, at least for me, one thing that I always try to think about as we're working through our ship designs is function, right? We want players to be able to look at any one of these ships and say, yes, I can tell what that ship does, what that ship is good at.
Right. I like how all of the Garrison ones look like guns.
Yeah,
they're
that was totally
very,
our design intent. Yeah,
very intense.
I wish I could pull up the Mira that we have. I remember when we started talking about this, and we were talking about the shape language, the visual shape language. So you see a ship and you know what it is. And for that, I was like, Star Blazers. right? Everyone's like, again, because we have a pretty decent sized team, and they go
Right.
across the spectrum of age. Let's just say.
Sure.
Yeah.
Throw myself under a bus right now, and I was like, Star Blazers. And they're like, what? And I was like, no,
And they're like, huh?
Star Blazers. I used to draw it in high school when I was on.
Yep.
So I used to be doing, and I had to pull the picture up, and they're like, oh, they're like, I don't know what this is. I'm like, yeah, okay, but yeah, that's what I'm going to be, Star Blazers.
There you go. What sort of specs will be required for the PC version of this, do you guys think?
We're trying to be hyper aware of the
I may have an answer for
spec
that.
side of that. Oh, do you have an answer for that?
I may. Keep going. You just keep going.
All right. I was just gonna
Ooh.
say, it's something we're hyper aware of. We want to make sure that we can make this game available to the widest audience possible. So a lot of the work that our engineering team has been doing has been making sure that we have some optionality on even something as simple as like view distances of the tactical board, right? So as you're zooming in and zooming out, the number of items or the number of kind of celestial objects that populate across the game universe will kind of limit themselves down so that we can run the game on lower end hardware. So we're trying to think about a lot of that as we're moving through development. Yeah.
How did you guys find having the demo or the playable live for people in Malta for Galaverse? What were your thoughts on that?
I thought it was awesome. It was actually it was a great experience for me to be able to it was my first experience getting to talk to a lot of our players, and we got to talk to a lot of people who purchased celestial objects with us, and talk through a lot of the areas that they were interested in, and it was just great to see how much passion everyone had for our game, and even just to be able to show them just a little bit of what we were working on was a really validating opportunity.
Awesome. Let's see, what other questions do we have here? They've asked, are there going to be free-to-play options?
Yeah, the game will be free to play. So one kind of other core piece of our design is we really want to ensure that there is a pathway for players to go from free to play into earner into owner.
Nice.
And that's why we're thinking about kind of some of these different NFT assets as well, and making sure that they come in at a variety of price points so that players can eventually ladder up into some of the higher end NFTs, but there are still lower end ones that players can become owners of, and then you use the progression from those NFTs to continue your path forward. But definitely the free to play on ramp is super important to us. Mike and I both come from backgrounds of working on free to play games, and so that's a key component of what we think is going to be needed as a next step for blockchain gaming generally.
Right. Are you encountering any interesting changes in thinking that take place as you guys go forward with building a blockchain game?
Man, it's almost like
countless. Yeah.
I mean, it is literally, talk about, you said the long week, right? It's every week we're seeing some interesting. Again, we have product chats with all of our PMs and all of our economists and the blockchain guys, and we're constantly throwing, did you see this? Did you see what these guys are doing?
So cool. Yeah.
And we do make adjustments based off that.
Of course.
I think that makes it, again, I think we're lining up pretty good. I don't want to get too bullish about it, but
I totally understand. Can claim owners grind for ownership, or just free-to-play players?
Can claim owners grind for... Sorry, ask that question one more time.
Can claim owners also grind for ownership of other in-game assets and earning, or is it only people who are coming in and free-to-play?
I guess if I'm understanding that question, is it that can claim owners grind to earn more claims? Then the answer would be yes, absolutely. Being a claim owner, you would certainly have some amount of earnings potential connected to that, for the way that kind of like the broader dust tokenomic system works. And so you could certainly grind by being a claim owner into gaining more claims. That you could certainly do that. Yes.
It gives you an edge. It gives you
Yeah.
Somebody starting with a claim is going to have a fairly large strategic claim. It doesn't mean that a free-to-play player
Nice.
can't someday reach that point, but it would take time. It literally is time and cost, right?
Okay.
So, but yeah, like the getting people, to put it bluntly, getting asses in seats is the plan, right?
Right.
More people playing the game, you throw a super wide net, like Matt said, and again, you're going to see a lot of upside.
Have you guys heard some of our progress that we're making in terms of login and account creation?
I
don't
haven't
know.
actually.
No. So this is part of the Crypto and Community Engagement Squad. We're currently working on a Web3 wallet integration. So rather than having to go through a high friction account creation process where you create a wallet on our platform and have to remember the mnemonic and all of that, we're setting it up so that you can bring your MetaMask and you can connect it and create an account and off you go. So that should make it a lot easier to onboard a lot more people. And I'm sorry, my light is weird now. I had to open my door because it's 7 million degrees in my office right now.
I know how that goes. I know how that goes. That usually by the end of the day, my office feels like that too.
My office is in that corner, that one corner of the house that gets all of the sun, right?
Yeah.
Damn. Okay.
Mine gets all of the sun and no breeze, which is the worst.
None. Zero breeze. And it's not like, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. They don't know what air conditioning is here because it's not supposed to get hot enough to need it. So, are there going to be any stealth ships or cloaking devices?
That's a good question. So I think I don't know that we've considered cloaking devices in particular, but Fog of War definitely plays a big part into kind of your fleet travel across the map. And the ships actually all have detection radiuses attached to them. So depending on kind of how you outfit your fleet, some ships, most of the ships that are kind of more discovery oriented, so the Royals primarily, they have much wider detection radiuses. So they're more easily able to identify like where different home bases are, where different enemies might be lying. And so they can kind of strategize around their ability to be able to see more of the map.
I've always thought the concept of space combat is so interesting because the distances involved in just like the concept of a single space battle, right? Makes it kinetic weapons. You're throwing things at things thousands and thousands of miles away,
Right.
and they may or may not even be there by the time the weapon reaches them, or even in like long enough battles, like light based weapons, lasers and stuff like that. You're firing at the image of a ship, not the actual ship, because the detection distance is fun. Anyway, sorry, that was like I totally geeked.
No
worries.
worries.
For a second.
Honestly, some of our designers are totally like geeking out on combat like that in that same way. Kinetic weapons versus like light-based weapons versus like corrosive style weapons. It's pretty interesting. Yeah.
I would call that out as when these guys nerd out about this stuff.
Oh man, I would love to sit on a couch and discuss space combat. I have thought a stupid amount about this topic, like a stupid, irrational amount about this.
If you look back at like some of the GIFs or the videos that we did before of like, hey, this is a zone, right? When we did the original house space and we had data for it, and this is where it was going to lay out, and it was laid out. And we brought in all these mathematicians and technical
mega nerds.
And, well, dude, now again, I think when we first talked about it, the map size was 1 million map squares. It is now 4 million map squares in size, and that was based on the fact that space. I remember having this conversation. Space can't act like this. This isn't how space would be.
There's no way it could be this concentrated. It would all fall into each other, and you'd have.
Exactly. And then it was like, okay, so then we had to, again, it's a game. People have to have fun, but we also want to be about as true to it as we can. So that's where we came to this middle ground, and that's when we had. I mean, I think I'm talking out of turn now, Matt. But the Stargate system and all this travel, mass transit, like all these cool things that we had to add to get around the much bigger map, but added choke points and space shipping lanes, and it added a whole new level into the content that wasn't there originally. So, like I said, and anyway, it is cool. It is super cool.
So if you are, I mean, I think it was, oh no. Oh my God, I can't remember his name. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy guy.
Diesel Brock.
No. The author. Oh, this is so terrible that I can't remember his name. All of a sudden, I would have known if I hadn't tried to think of it. But anyway, you know, he talks about how big space is, right? He talks about how absolutely giant space is. So when you're traveling in space, you mentioned a game system I'm not going to bring back up again, just in case you don't want to talk about it in more detail. Is there a like, how long does it take to get from place to place? Or do you not want to answer that question?
Without using dust?
Okay.
It's not like real space. I mean, you won't.
It's not. We're not talking about 140 million years.
No.
You know, sort of. Okay.
That definitely does not sound fun. Let me tell you.
No. It's like I've started this journey, and I will get there when I'm 78. Take days. Okay.
Real life days. If you didn't use the system, and then there's multiple. We showed it at Galaverse, and I think there's a video floated around where you have there's three different fuel types. Okay. Solar, again, this all came out of when we rebooted and didn't not rebooted.
Love the mega nerds.
When we brought in all the mega nerds, and then we started getting real deep into the weeds. It was like solar sails. If you run out of gas, you have solar sails. Fusion is the gas that you create from the basic sets of resources, which used to be 3 basic resources, which all claims have, which is now how many, Matt? Refined? 24 refined resources for all the different progression vectors in the game. And then that turned into fuel. So you can move slow with solar, but it's free. You can move. And I know there's going to be streamers who are just streaming. I'm never going to spend any dust. I'm only going to ever go solar power. What I can like.
That's okay. They can stream themselves sitting and watching series while their ship, you know, slowly makes its way through the universe.
Solar, fusion, and then faster.
I forgot what it was called, actually.
Magic.
There's let's just say FTL, but it's nerd.
I think it's warp drive. Is it warp drive? I can't remember.
I don't know.
FTL. I like FTL.
Mike and I are obviously not the mega nerds who are making these systems. You can tell.
I need to come hang out with your mega nerds. This sounds like fun. Douglas Adams. Thank you, Jimmy211. That is the name that I was looking for. You have saved me from having to Google that myself. I really appreciate it. I like solar-powered arbiters mining on free-to-play hippie mode. I like that. That's nice. Well done, Sinister Grin. I like that. What if hypothetically speaking, let's say we have this 4 million square map, and I start on one end of it, and I have, you know, my solar drive, and I just push that up to full speed. How long would it take me to cross the map, if I may ask? You don't have
to be frank. We're not sure yet. We're not sure
because
we're trying to find a balance. We're trying to.
I would say across the one zone again, like. I'm going to say
just one zone.
What's the word? Because again, remember, I posted something in the Discord. You can scroll back up to the pin stuff. You see the layout of it, right? And you can actually see the points where you actually have to use fast travel or the gate system to get to the next part.
Right.
But to go across one zone, say Ember's Grace, and what do we say when we don't want to Do not hold me accountable for this. This is
Yes.
put air quotes.
Don't
around
hold
it.
me to
this could
Yeah.
change. This could change.
Yeah.
This is all just
This
what
is
we're
all
thinking
subject
right
to
now.
balancing. This is all
I
subject to
believe
balancing.
it's like 3 days. So you could
That's
send
not
your
so
stuff off.
bad.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Send your ships
That's
off
not so bad.
and on Wednesday and come back Saturday morning and your guys have got there. So that's
Now, what I
great.
feel, what I feel really, and this is for me very interesting, is if you were to use like solar sail based. I'm so nerding on you right now. If you were to use like solar sail based
There you go.
space propulsion, the interesting thing is you would keep accelerating. So it may take you like 2 days to cross the first, 25% of the map, and then it just gets faster and faster and faster and faster from there. I think that would be cool. I realize that's
pretty,
impossible as a game design thing, but I think that would be super cool.
Well, it would be super cool. And again, that's where that's where you got to find the balance, right? The perfect balance between you want to get people to come into the game and play and have a good time, and they have to feel like they're progressing. They have to feel like they have to feel good about it. And then we get to the thing where you're right, like somebody said here, like slingshotting with gravity. Like we talked about all this.
Right.
So in the weeds that people are like, do you want a player to come in and spend 30 minutes plotting like a trajectory to get like it's like not really.
No, yeah, exactly. That's that. There are 8 people who would enjoy this, and 6 of them are on your team already. And the other there's me, and then one dude, from Discord.
Well, I'm telling you, the interesting twist is when we went to Galaverse and we were talking to people there, a lot of people were saying the same kind of stuff. And I want to give props to the people that I ran into at Galaverse, because most of the conversation, they asked a bunch of questions, but then it always went straight to, what would be cool? What would be interesting? And they had a lot of really good ideas. So
we're going to steal some of those ideas.
But we do want to steal, but I had to make sure the caveat was we want to launch the game.
Nice.
So it's going to have to be a post-launch feature, but there's a lot of good stuff coming out of the audience already. So
Sinister Grin, if you're over encumbered, just use that as reaction mass. Fling it out the back. Make yourself go faster. There we go. The Zorro Gala wants to know, can ships be upgraded?
Yes. Progression is like probably one of the major factors of the game overall. One key decision we've made is that the game world is going to be largely persistent. It's just going to exist in perpetuity for as long as the game lives. And so the progression for that is really designed kind of around that long-term perpetual world. So all of your capital ships, support ships, heroes, buildings, celestial objects, buildings on celestial objects, like all of those aspects of the game have quite deep layers of progression, both in terms of leveling and actually tiering as well. So every time you hit a level cap for a particular item, it can then tier into the next tier. And each of those tiers is kind of like a big jump in like progressible elements, depending on the system. So for capital ships, the difference between a tier 1 and tier 2 sniper would be quite significant. It would be significant such that you would probably want to think twice about even challenging higher tier combatants.
I always thought it's interesting when you look at generations of fighting vehicles. You have like a generation 3 fighter, versus a generation 5 air superiority fighter or something like that. How a generation 3 fighter would never even see a generation 5 fighter. It would never even show up. They would just all of a sudden cease to exist. And I've always thought that's really, really interesting. Want to confirm here. Where did it go? Somebody asked that there are no seasons. This is from Spooky from the BTB Guild. No seasons.
Yeah, we talked about, we wanted, again, to Matt's point, persistence and progression, and it needs to feel like you've done something, right? You've accomplished it, right? So this whole feeling of accomplishment and ownership that we wanted to that we think comes with the persistence. However, we do realize that, so we talked about events, so we could have events, we have leaderboards, so we already have leaderboards, so we have the ability to kind of scratch that itch and do what the people are trying to do, which is competition, but in a more, a monthly or a weekly or a
and without resetting the entire map and busting everything back to zero. Exactly. I'm so gratified by that decision, because for me, I love to build. Like I'm one of those people, and Eric actually even makes fun of me sometimes because I love to play games like Factorio and Satisfactory and things like that. And he's like, it's one of those weird OCD building games that you really like. And I'm like, I do like those. I'm sorry. So I love to just expand out into the world and to figure out how to make an economy and, all of that. So I think that that's super cool, and I'm looking forward to that. Okay, let's see here. I absolutely love all of the different comments. And Chicken to Hawk, I'm not avoiding your orb question. It's just this would not be the forum for the orb question. Okay, we can discuss that later. Ice Pickle, can we switch capital ship classes if we find that our current one isn't working out very well?
Yeah, so actually one element of the design that I maybe intentionally didn't talk about today is how you get capital ships. What I can tell you is that there will be a big advantage of going the NFT flagship route versus going the capital ship route. One of those elements being that making capital ships takes a long time. It takes a long time, and it's somewhat randomized as well. So you can't guarantee what class or faction you're going to get. You can raise the rates at which you might get a particular class or faction, but for all intents and purposes, you're kind of rolling the dice when it comes to that. Versus the NFT flagships, you can select exactly what you want and exactly what rarity you want it.
So you're saying that with the capital ships that are not NFTs, when you create them, there's a little difference in terms of maybe quality or just stats for that specific ship. Yeah. Interesting. Okay,
so every time you craft a capital ship, there's going to be like a stat band for every stat related to that ship. Stat ceiling, stat floor, and depending on kind of where you land within each of the bands for all of those stats, there's a quality kind of associated with that. And so you'll have to craft a lot of capital ships to really get a high quality capital ship, and to get a high quality capital ship of the class that you want and the faction you want at the rarity you want as well. So
interesting. Is there any pathway to turn a non-NFT capital ship into an NFT ship?
That's a good question. It's a good question. It's one,
and you don't have to know the answer. That's me just like randomly flinging shit at you.
This is totally, we'll see. So don't hold me to this one either. But one area that we're really interested in is being able to turn a really, really high tier, like basically a capital ship that someone has progressed for a really long time, being able to mint that into an NFT flagship. That's something we're interested in. It feels like a cool pathway for players to be able to, see value out of the time that they invest into something. So that's an area we're interested in. We don't have any. I don't have any more detail on it than that just yet.
So one of the things that I really love about what you guys have built, I love the aesthetics of it. It's very pretty. It's beautiful. It's got that richness to it that I think that you don't see in games as much anymore, specifically in space games. One of the interesting things for me about space games and travel and things like that is the you guys read the Foundation trilogy, obviously, right? I mean, I know that, I'm positive you have. One of the things that I thought was cool about that is how you have as the Foundation is going back towards the center of the Empire, they start encountering these big imperial capital ships that are like massive, but also super old and kind of crappy. Is there, as time goes on, will there be a technological growth where you can upgrade ships into different, not just upgrading them as like a static, arbiter level 5, whatever, but something where you there's maybe even a progression or new meta that gets introduced into the game as time goes on?
I think that that's definitely an area that we would consider for like expansion style content.
I love that.
I think again, optionality and player choice is always something that we're trying to live by as we're kind of making designs, and that sort of kind of branching pathway definitely feels like something that we would hope to be able to explore in the future as we're kind of moving along in development. And this is a game we plan to continue to support for a long time, and that feels like a really natural kind of evolution of kind of the way that these ships could go.
I apologize for the dog in the background.
No worries.
I know you just answered this question in Dapper Don. I know you just answered this in the chat, but when the game starts, where will players begin their journey? At the center of the map or random? This is from Render Dog.
The very edge of, again, house space. Again, back to the narrative conceit. House space is where all new houses spring to life. So
Right.
Every player will start in house space, and house space is large. It's very, very big. It should easily, I can't even remember the number of players that will have. If you put them within X number of squares around them, we could fill it up. That being said, that's a safe zone. It's completely safe. You can mine everything, but everything's basic, and all the basic resources are there, but it's subpar as compared to, you'll hit a wall of progression. So free-to-play players will come in, they'll have a good time. They're like, oh, I'm getting this. I understand it. They've gone through the new player experience. And then eventually they'll hit this wall where they're like, I got to earn more. Like, I got to get more resources. And these are depleted, and I'm not getting, I need to go out there. And then you leave and you go into the house, or you go into the 3 main zones. And those main zones, that's where all the claims are. So that's where players can start leasing claims off of, and celestial claim owners, and they'll start seeing an uptick in resources so they can build up their empires, free-to-play players. And then that's when all the activity around the NFTs starts to get registered, and that's when all the activity point system comes into play, and that's when the dust gets calculated. So yeah, I think I may have answered that question.
Yeah, I think so. Where did the name Echoes of Empire come from?
I want to say, I would really need Yuri in on this.
I know. Yuri knows the answer. I actually don't know
the answer. I mean, it was when I said it. I said to people, Galver, I said it when we started. When we talked about the game, it was kind of samey. It was like samey sci-fi, and then there was this whole idea of, again, echoes of empire, like these. What happens if an empire, let's say the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, grew to dominance on Earth and went out into space thousands of years later? What would that look like? And then that just turned into, that's, and I'm that kind of nerd. So that's when you just give the narrative nerds license. Here's poetic license. Go nuts.
Go crazy with it.
And that's where that's how we got this today. I got all kinds of stuff to share on that.
I really look forward to that. I love story. I love the narrative behind these sorts of things, and I love this concept of space empires. It's sort of a trope that has been lost a little bit in a lot of science fiction. I don't know. I feel like it's been left behind a bit. Okay, let's see. Can you enjoy the game as free to play?
Yeah, absolutely. The game is very much enjoyable as free to play, but the intent behind the design is certainly to ramp players from free to play into earner. That's really where we want everyone to go. It's kind of a key aspect of the game. But you could certainly start as free to play and kind of move into that earner position.
And if we're doing our job right, which I think we can do in this regard, at least coming from our backgrounds, is to get players playing the game, having a good time, and inadvertently converting them to the cause, right? Like, so they're what? Oh, hey, what is this thing? Oh, well, if you want it, you're going to have to make this wallet. Oh, I do want that. I like that. Can I have that?
Sure. I like things.
Just do this process and get this thing. And it's like, oh, that's fun. So, and then all of a sudden they're in. And then now it's like, I'm participating. How do I participate more? And again, converting free-play players is the deal. So, but that's always the deal. So,
what is more dangerous, the environment or other players?
Other players.
Absolutely, other players. It's definitely other players.
Space is pretty dangerous, man.
I was going to say, theoretically, sure, space, right?
And I think to the point of that question, we are looking at elements that we can add into the universe that pose a certain amount of danger to the player community. We're looking at things like world bosses and PvE raids where guilds can kind of come together to fight some sort of PvE style content.
I love it.
It's definitely part of our drive. Again, just trying to build a universe with lots of options of play. Maybe I'm a player who is really scared of PvP stuff, and I just would rather go fight PvE world bosses.
Generated via wormholes by wormhole generators that are associated with only the highest level of celestial plane.
Boop, boop. One of the things that I always hated about Eve is which I love. I think it's a super. No, wait, it's not a fun game. It's not. It's
a fun spreadsheet.
It's a fun spreadsheet. Exactly. It's the prettiest, most enjoyable spreadsheet I've ever participated in. But there's always that moment where you come out of a transit and suddenly you're just in the shit and you're getting hammered from all directions by a bunch of capital ships, and then you get toasted, and it's sad.
Yeah.
How many worlds are there in EOE?
Thousands? That many thousands? I don't even know the number at this point. I think it's definitely more than the number of celestial claims we sold, or even that we're planning to sell. I think it's probably going to be significantly more than that.
Is it like 6,600 claims? That's it. Right, that's all the claims there were.
Claims number is lower than that, isn't it?
Claim? Are you sure?
I can't remember now.
It's no more. How about this? There's no more.
Definitely no more than that. Yeah, definitely no more than that.
Okay, there you go.
And the amount of uncommon and all the space junk and all the rest of the stuff, I wouldn't even begin to guess. It's a lot.
Yeah, there's like flotillas, like guild outposts, like asteroid belts. Yeah,
I love it.
Derelict vessels,
refueling stations.
Yeah,
just, there's stuff that you can go destroy. There's stuff you can go salvage. You want to go salvage a spooky space wreck? We got that.
Nice. There's a book that I really like. It's called Evergence. It's by Sean William and Shane Dix, and it has this really cool concept of people who have been put in medical pods and have been floating in space for tens of thousands of years. These like micrometeorite pitted pods, and they come out and wreak havoc on the galaxy. Anyway, any other questions, guys? We're gonna start wrapping it up here pretty soon. Space gambling. I think you have to talk to John about space gambling. We'll have to build the Sabak in later.
Yeah, I don't know. We didn't have any. We got nothing.
Don't. If you say that those two words in rapid succession 3 times while looking in a mirror, Jesse shows up. So we need to not do that, because the last thing that we need in space is a law tank. Poor Spookies. Ship got wrecked. Awesome, guys. Well, is there anything else that you guys would like to say before we wrap up for the weekend?
Oh my God, it is Friday.
Thank
Yeah,
God.
finally, right?
Oh my God, yes. No, just I mean, just keep on keeping on. I mean,
Okay.
like I said before, Discord for us, like we're constantly like, hey, did you see this? Hey, did you read this? Hey, look at this Discord. Look what they're saying over here. So that kind of interactivity before a game's even launched, it's super solid. It keeps us
Yeah,
going. Please keep it up.
we would love to. We can do one of the things that we're thinking about doing. Oh God, I have to give some people some alpha here. So one of the things that we're thinking of doing here is a once a month Discord voice chat where we let people who hold a specific NFT. I don't want to get into too much detail on this yet, but there will be an NFT that if people are holding this specific NFT, they can participate in like a once a month verbal hangout with developers. Is that something that you guys would be interested in?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Just a
Absolutely.
bunch of people just talking. Awesome. Well, then we'll plan on that. There will be more news coming on that later, but it's something that people have been asking about, and they will be happy when they hear news about it. But anyway, guys, I think let's wrap up and let everybody go for the weekend. Except for me, I still have some stuff that I got to do. If you happen to be listening, benefactor, I will be posting that report shortly. I just didn't have time because I was going and getting a baby checkup. So anyway, let's close up, and I will see you guys soon.
excellent.
All right. Thanks,
everybody.
everyone.
Peace out.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.